rash predictions in the media can blow up in your face. But in my last midweek Mediawatch chat with Karen Hay last year, I felt on pretty safe ground, pun intended, predicting this. If there's not much going on over summer, this could be like the shark story of the silly season. We're going to be seeing this all over the country, people standing by appalling potholes and dodgy rushed road repairs. That's my prediction for the summer. Could be wrong, but there we go.
Oh, I hope not. We don't need that, especially, having a holiday and then there's massive potholes and tar all over your car.
And that seemed a pretty safe bet back then, with Waka Kotahi warning that more than 10% of the state highway network was due to be resealed or rebuilt this summer, and that wetter weather than usual had already made cracks and potholes worse. And the National Party had launched a Pothole of the Week competition to back up its claim the roads are the worst we've ever seen. And there was plenty more about all that in the media over the new year. For example, under the headline Pothole Nation, on December the 28th, the Herald said this:
Kiwis will take to a road network this summer described as in its worst state by AA members, with rim-wrecking, tyre-popping potholes.
And the Herald went on to report a record 555 complaints to Waka Kotahi in 2022 about vehicle damage caused by potholes, up from just under 300 in 2020. No wonder we were hearing things like this on talk radio in the new year from the driver of a crippled camper van.
The pothole damage in New Zealand is just unbelievable. The advice from my insurance company, AMI, is that people in New Zealand are now taking personal liability suits against companies like Fulton Hogan because of the state of our roads.
And more complaints on air like this.
This country is going down the dunny in terms of its infrastructure. I reckon the next government that comes in, because it sure as hell won't be this one, needs to do a complete financial review and an inquiry.
Others on Talkback were blaming central and local government for the potholes, and this guy even wanted to take it out on the health and safety people.
And these guys in WorkSafe need to be shot.
Newstalk ZB host Francesca Rudkin gently told that guy execution wasn't really a solution.
Maybe we don't need to shoot them, but I agree with you. I think there's a delivery problem.
Stuff also deployed that Pothole Nation headline in the new year, reporting on vigilante residents filling potholes themselves, and often not all that well. And under headlines like Holy Hell and Gone to Pot, NZME's local and regional papers also reported National Party Transport spokesperson Simeon Brown saying this:
I've been hearing from many Kiwis over the summer that our roads are in the worst state they have ever seen.
Now that prompted a string of tweets from Transport Minister Michael Wood, highlighting a freeze in roading maintenance under the previous National-led government, a decision back in 2010 to allow heavier trucks on some roads, and the prevalence of potholes was being made worse, he said, by an extremely wet winter. And on the 16th of January, Today FM took up the story like this.
The potholes peppering New Zealand's road network are causing more disruption and frustration than ever before. Now, Waka Kotahi received a record number of complaints of vehicle damage caused by potholes in the first 10 months of 2022, 555 compared to 421 the previous year. Now, Transport Minister Michael Wood's explanation, he's blaming an increase to the weight limit of trucks.
The truckers' lobbyist Nick Leggett then told Today FM and many other media outlets it wasn't their fault, and truck drivers were telling him the roads are the worst we've ever seen. And the Herald that same day then cited that figure again of 555 complaints last year and said it was evidence the roads are in the worst state they've ever been. 3 days later on Today FM, Tova O'Brien told listeners this.
New Zealand's pothole problem reached an all-time high last year, with Waka Kotahi receiving more than 555 claims for compensation as a result of vehicle damage.
But that figure of 555 wasn't new. The AM show on TV Channel 3 actually aired at first back in October last year, like this.
Exclusive figures released to AM by ACT this morning reveal that of the 550 complaints made so far this year, yes, so far this year, only 4 were compensated.
And having supplied that startling stat exclusively to the AM show, ACT's transport spokesperson Simon Court joined AM's Ryan Bridge to pump up the political pressure.
Is that our fault for hitting the potholes?
Look, we've asked Michael Wood, who's responsible for the transport agency, how many complaints have you received? And when he told us, we were shocked.
At the time, ACT launched a campaign to pressure the government to fix the roads faster called We Hear Ya. But just last week, RNZ also reported that record number of complaints that was reported in October and repeated all summer since was actually misreported, according to Waka Kotahi.
ACT asked us about the road condition complaints and that number was correct. But saying they're all pothole complaints is false.
Waka Kotahi said that ACT had processed the information incorrectly. There were only 207 complaints specifically about damage from potholes in 2022, and that's just one more than the number for 2021. Those 555 compensation claims were prompted by damage to a range of private property, and the total number of damage complaints, according to Waka Kotahi, had actually decreased over the previous 5 years. We have moved to correct the record as quickly as we can, Waka Kotahi claimed, though 4 months seems an awfully long time to take for clarification, especially as the wrong impression was conveyed by almost every major news outlet after the ACT Party launched its campaign. But ACT's campaign wasn't just about repairing the roads, as Simon Court made clear on the AM show 4 months ago.
This government and the Transport Agency have their priorities all wrong. In a government that involves ACT, we would make sure that the agency is doing what they're supposed to, deliver safer roads, but also make sure that we can travel at a decent speed.
And just before the new year, ACT's We Hear road campaign rolled out a new slogan, Stop Lowering Speed Limits. Now, this called for $45 million budgeted to lower speed limits on highways deemed to be dangerous to be put towards fixing the roads instead. And that chimed with that campervan driver on Talkback Radio who reckoned that slowing down was part of the problem.
I see the news every night and I see the ads, slow down. I see all the signs on the roads, slow down. If 70% of the businesses this tow truck company had was due to potholes, how many people are actually dying on our roads every year? After what I've seen in the last 3.5 weeks, I think it would contribute a lot to the loss of life on our roads.
Well, she was right about the ads. A major campaign against speeding launched this week, and it's urgently needed, according to Checkpoint last Tuesday.
About 500 people are killed or seriously injured a year in speed-related crashes. And here's a taste of the new ad campaign.
I was just overtaking someone, officer. Could have only been a couple of Ks over.
But opposition to lowered speed limits has also been making lots of headlines lately. For example, the Wairarapa Times Age newspaper over the New Year period devoted several front pages to plans to cut highway speed limits to 80 k's an hour in the region, including one front page carrying just these words from Carterton Mayor Ron Mark.
These idiots think speed is the problem. Grow up!
And all this against the backdrop of a holiday road toll that police called completely unacceptable. Now, earlier this month, the Herald published an editorial all about that, concluding that driver education was actually the key to lowering the toll. And it also noted the coverage of the quality of New Zealand's roads and speed limits had prompted a lot of ongoing debate lately, which, as we've heard, it certainly has. But you could forgive readers sharing that concern for being confused, because while they're seeing big ad campaigns urging them to slow down and new speed limit reductions on crash-prone roads, opposition to lower speeds has been widely aired in the media too, along with political campaigns saying faster roads should be the priority. And all of that against a backdrop of complaints pumped up by coverage of the political blame game about potholes, which was pinned on a startling statistic published over and over since last October, which the source says is actually misleading. Here's hoping for better in 2023.